Hello, everyone. This is Reimagining Star Wars and Star Wars Santa, and we're going to review the Season 7, Episode 3 on the Wings of the Keeradaks. I think I'm saying that right. I have Star Wars Santa here. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Star Wars Santa, in the podcast format that we are now finding very useful.
Yes, I'm enjoying this podcast format immensely. So excited to be reviewing another episode, and happy that today we get to do it on the same day of release. So hopefully we can be more current from now going forward as well.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah, I think the podcast format helps make that easier for both of us.
It really lends it toward it. I mean, it's an ease of format.
Yeah, if people don't know, I live a little bit further north than you do, right?
So yeah, I mean, we live pretty far south in
I'm saying,
good old Alabama, and you're one of those carpetbaggers that we don't like down here.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah. So this episode picked up exactly where the last one left off, right?
So yes, it does, and we start exactly in the spot where we're with Rex and Echo, and it was actually pretty cool because we go boom, it goes from there, but we're in the hallways and they're fighting off, and then we jump right back into there to see what's going on. So clearly, the end of the last episode was the conversation between Rex and Echo, while simultaneously Anakin and the Bad Bat were holding off these new droids, these battle droids.
Yeah, and Tech is working to free Echo from the computer system. Like, there'd be too much shock to his system if they were just to unplug him before turning off the feed, so to speak, right? So Tech is at the computer helm trying to disconnect the feed, and they're fighting off the Techno Union droids, and they're fighting them off, and they got the first door shut, and then they're working their way through. So they back up and they close the blast doors, and they start working their way through. It's building up a pretty good amount of tension because they're running out of time and there's nowhere to go. Right,
I love that decimator, and they bring in the decimator.
Right, and it brings in this floating ball droid-looking thing, and there's a good bit of controversy going on out there from folks who have watched the early reels, and then the unfinished reels from, I think it was 2014 or something like that. Right?
It came out in 2015.
Okay. Yeah. So now there was a scene cut from that where the decimator actually disintegrated a subject so that they could actually see what damage it could do, and that got cut. And so people were questioning the motives for cutting that. Did it really need cut? We already had a short episode to begin with. This one's only 18-19 minutes. So I think, just from my perspective, you find out it's called the decimator, right? It's not. So that's already in the way that it's presented. You think, oh, this is not good. I don't know what it is, but it can't be good. And then,
I mean, it starts cutting through the doors right off the bat. I mean, my attention went way up. I was like, "Ooh, wow, this thing's cutting through like it's got lightsaber, man!" And I was wow,
this thing ain't messing around. Yeah, I was the same way because I did not watch the early reels, so I'm letting these come to me as they come. So I thought that it sufficiently built the tension, and I also, once it does cut into the room and they're making their escape, it's just by the hair, right? They barely get out in time, and this thing starts shooting electricity everywhere, and you're like, well, okay, that would not be good considering what it just did to the blast doors. If you were in that room with it, you're in bad shape. So
right.
Yeah. So
I mean, I thought it was sufficient for you to feel like it was going to do something. We didn't necessarily need to see somebody get zapped, and I didn't know who would be zapped. I mean, you're not going to just bring somebody in for the sake of just zapping them, right?
Right.
Because they would have been set up in the last 2 episodes.
Right. They would have already had somebody captive. And from the early reels, it was a Poltec, one of those that they first run into when they landed in the first episode. And those Poltecs didn't want any part of the war to begin with. And they said, we're out. You guys can come here, but
right.
we're not part of this thing. And so it would have been kind of odd to have a Poltec there unless the Poltecs were part of the fighting, and which they weren't. So
right.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the things I thought was really cool about the Techno Union, which I never saw in the movies, and maybe it had been in the episodes before, but I had never caught it, was that they float across the ground like they're on segways or something. I mean, they roll across the ground. I thought it was really cool. Like, you don't see it underneath their outfit they're wearing, but I was like, that's really awesome. I didn't know that. I always thought that they just walked around. I didn't know they rolled across the ground.
That's a nice
little detail. I thought it was.
Yeah, I don't think I caught it. I didn't necessarily catch that when I watched it this time. So yeah, that's a good bit of detail you saw.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, wow, that's a real attention to detail about a character type. Yeah, so I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, and then the everybody escapes, right? They get out of that room. They weren't there when the decimator is, and the news gets back to Wat Tambor, says that they got out, and he comes in the room and looks, and he says they took it, Techno Union property. Regarding Echo, that's what he's referring to Echo, and he calls Echo an it and Techno Union property.
Right.
I found that language particularly interesting, and it comes into play at the end as well when they want to recoup their investment in this technology. Is how they kind of couch it, but to call him an it devalues him as a person or as a living being, and to call it Techno Union property when it's a person as well, harkens back to early U.S. history with slavery, when people were owned as property and were treated as such. So,
right. So it's not just, throughout the history of humanity, people have been owned as property, right? It's not
that's true.
It's not just human history. So, it kind of reaches across the world.
That's true. And I thought, wow, they went there. I thought it was pretty impressive. Yeah, it's a small line, but still, when you've got a human being that you're treating as property and calling it an it.
Right. Yeah, very impactful.
Yeah, especially with the focus of the Clone Wars as a series. They have been really, really good at humanizing the clones, and here the Techno Union is doing the opposite.
Right. I think the point of it is to get us offended by, right? So we've been humanized. The clones have been humanized, so we no longer separate them and treat them as non-human entities.
Yep.
And so they're people just like we are. Is how we perceive them. So now to call them an it's offensive to us.
Yeah.
And it should be. And I think that's real important that you have that. It makes things very distinct. So we can see how they think. Again, we've talked about the neutrality of these people that are whether it's the Techno Union or the banking clan or the Trade Federation, they're all sought this neutrality so they can profit off of both sides, like war profiteers, which is kind of how they perceive this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what it's going for. I think there's no morality on the side of the separatists, and I think that's kind of what they're showing is that they don't value anything. But of course, it's led by a Sith Lord, so why would they value anything?
Good point. So they get driven outside, and they're trying to escape. And Echo can remember the layout of the place because he was just hooked up to their computer systems, and so he has memories of the information that he saw. And he's leading them to a hangar, and on the way they get interrupted. And so Tech emits a signal that calls the Keeradaks. That's the name of the episode, right? On the Wings of Keeradaks.
Right.
The Keeradaks come, they jump onto them, and lo and behold, surprise, surprise! Guess what happens?
They all fall to their death.
No. Those
No, that didn't happen.
yeah, those droids that we talked about last week that look different. Actually, paid a little bit of attention this week as well. They had 6 arms, and you see like they've got the 2 kind of longer ones on the bottom, and then what would be the normal droid arms sort of in the middle, like a battle droid. But then they've got these 2 long arms that are at the top, and what we see is they're able to protrude those arms and bring out wings. So those battle droids that were, specialized for the planet in the Techno Union can fly, and I thought it was funny because
I actually went, what? They fly now?
Yeah, I knew that was coming. I was like, that was awesome. It made me laugh, which I think Star Wars should sometimes, especially in the animated. And kids aren't going to get that joke, but I certainly got the joke. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. Because the controversy from Return of the Jedi, I'm sorry, Rise of Skywalker, right? The Rise of Skywalker, the controversy over there. What, they fly now? When they obviously knew they flew before, but now we didn't know they flew before, and they jump off and they're like, oh, they fly,
right?
Yeah. But
it does explain why they were so spindly. We were talking about how last week how they were so spindly, and we were going, why are they so spindly? I mean, it's clear they have the same brains as the thing. We speculated that maybe it was allowing them to claim some separation from the separatists by not having separatist droids.
Right.
But clearly that's not it.
Yeah, plausible deniability. I think the plausible deniability is still there because they don't allow these droids anywhere else. Right.
Right. At least that we've seen.
Yeah. Right. So the droids do follow them, and then they release these giant. And I had to look it up online because I don't know all these things, but there's the round ball-shaped droids with the really long legs.
The walkers. We see those walkers at the very beginning. Like right at the beginning of the whole series. You remember when we were, when we were first introduced to Ahsoka, they're right there. So it's the same ones, but I didn't know they flew.
Right, it's in the movie, and these are called Octuptra, is what they're called. Octuptara, something like that. It's a combat tri-droid, and they're large walkers. And you're right, they come back from the movie, right?
Right.
And is where we first saw them, is in the movie. So, so it's a little bit of a giveaway. Like, we've seen these before. And they've chased them back to the Poltec village. The Poltecs are not happy at all that the war has been brought back to them. And I saw earlier today on Star Wars Explained, where he said this is a theme that we've seen over and over and over again throughout the Clone Wars, like, and even in Star Wars itself, like, to be to try to remove yourself from the war at all is futile. It only ends up in your people getting killed and puts you at harm. And you have to pick a side, and that's really in the Last Jedi. That was the whole point of DJ, right? Don't join.
Right.
And so it is a theme we've seen over and over and over again, and the Poltecs don't want any part of it, but they have to be explained, like, we're sorry. Yeah, we did break our word, and this is coming to us, but look what they did. And they show them Echo. And that kind of shocks them. And at that point on, then they don't have that resistance, and they're all in.
Right. Well, so they have it pokes at their morality. It may not poke at their self-preservation, but it pokes at the morality of cutting up and making a monstrosity out of a person.
Yeah.
And that's what it was the ethical side that really broke them, and they agreed to join because they considered it unethical. But they could have easily just handed them over, and that would have been the end of their battle, and they would have never been a part of the war. They could have stayed neutral.
That's
in
true.
That sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't bring you here So go back.
Well,
We're not housing it.
Yeah, and it goes all the way to the point, like, that's a really good point. The ethical part of them was so offended, and that they got involved in the battle, and at the end, the Poltecs tell the Jedi that the Jedi always have an ally on Skako Minor from this point on.
Right.
So they've picked a side now.
Correct.
They may not be sending troops, right? They may not be active combatants, but they have definitely picked a side.
Right. So they're not active combatants and like you said, they're not actively seeking war, but this is a place that, a sanctuary, as it were, where they will at least uphold a place of to rest and find protection.
Yeah. So, which raises an interesting point, and I wanted to bring this up today. We talked a little bit about Skako Minor and the atmosphere there, and it's supposed to be hydrogen sulfide, and but we see Anakin and the clones able to breathe. We also see the Techno Union folks don't ever take off their suits. And what I wonder, and what I think begs, some speculation, is has an event happened on Skako Minor that has permanently changed the atmosphere prior to this, right? Prior to the Clone Wars starting, something changed so that the Techno Union can no longer live outside of those pressure suits on their own planet. And at this point, we also then have the Poltecs saying they're aligning with the Jedi. Are the Techno Union now homeless, so to speak, right? Could they call Skako Minor their home? They can't live there, breathe there without their pressure suits. And the Poltecs are on the side of the Jedi.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it seems to me like that's clearly where they live, and that's where their center of operations is. Because then we saw that big old. I'm assuming that facility we saw is the only facility of the Techno Union.
Yeah.
But it could be. I mean, it could be that it's not their home world truly, and that this is where they call their headquarters, maybe. Yeah. And
well,
so I guess that's a possibility.
I did look up. What is Wat Tambor's race? And it says that he is a Skakoan, right? That they are Skakoans. So they are from Skako Minor. At least their species originated there. And that's why I wonder, based on what we saw before and what we see now, is there evidence to make an argument that the environment on Skako Minor has been permanently changed?
Did you look up and see there's a Skako Major?
No, I did not.
I mean, if you have a minor, that would allude to the idea of there being a major, a Skako Major. So maybe a Skakoan is from Skako Major and a Poltec is from Skako Minor.
Well, what I see is it's Skako, according to Wikipedia again, is Ecumenopolis, whatever, a galactic core and home world of the Skakoan species. Skako was governed by urban sprawl planet, so very similar to it's completely covered in development, right? So clearly Skako is a different planet than Skako Minor. Yeah. So because that's clearly not covered with urban sprawl. It's pretty wild. It's pretty natural. So. It says that it's population.
They're from Skako Minor.
Yeah, it says a population and scale to Coruscant. So it's very similar to Coruscant.
Oh, that's crazy. That's a lot.
Well, there's another story. You learn these things like, well, we have never seen that, and maybe we'll get to see that in something coming up. So anyway.
All right, well, that's good to know. Now we know this is the Skako system. Skako Minor is not Skako. It's just another planet in the Skako system.
Right.
Similar where they live. Okay, so we've learned that.
Yeah, and Skako is similar to Coruscant. So I'm interested to see, more adventures on Skako now.
Yeah, I would too. I'd like to see it now. I don't want to see it from space and go down to it.
Yeah,
maybe a future fan fiction.
So we've reached the duration in our talk now of the episode. Is there anything else you want to cover?
No, I think actually, I think it was pretty good in the course of things. I think it's taking us to the step. I think if you're going through a writing phase, I think we have closed out the second act. We're moving into the final act of this arc, which we expected to at this point, and so I think that's where we're going. I think there's one more in this arc, if I remember correctly.
Yep,
and it's a 4-part arc. So I mean, the first part introduced it, and we got to the point of no return. They went off last time, and we had our climax in the middle. You know, our minor climax where we found Echo at the end, and now we've moved through this, and now we're at the end of this whole thing, and we hear Wat Tambor saying that he wants to recoup his investment, so he won't report it yet. So he has something else planned, and that's leading us into the third act of this 4-part arc.
Yeah, and there's a little ominous music that plays there at the very end when they tell Echo, "Hey, it's just like the good old days," or whatever, right? And he goes, "Yeah, just like the good old days." But there's the ominous music that plays there. So those two scenes happen back to back, and it makes you wonder: is there something?
Yeah, something's not sounding right. I mean, I'm wondering. I'm right now. I'm thinking about the chip in their head,
right?
And that's what kind of inspired. I was saying, he said, just like the good old days, and the look in his face. I was thinking, oh, are we about to deal with the chip? What's going on? And
right, or something else, because we know that they've had him hooked up to a computer. You know, what did they put in him? What's going on? Yeah.
Yep. So I think something's definitely about to go down, and if I haven't seen, I have seen it, but I don't remember it. Just put it that way. I remember seeing them all when they came out, but I just don't remember what happened, and I haven't looked it up. So, you know, I guess prediction wise, I don't remember. Something will probably end up happening to Echo, and that'll close out this arc.
Yeah. That's the episode is titled "Unfinished Business," so that definitely ties back to the Techno Union and saying that they're going to collect on their investment. So this is their unfinished business. So, yep. Well, that's what we have to look forward to next week. And hopefully we can come back to this format and do it again on Friday, get it on the same day of release. And this is a fantastic format. So I'm appreciating it a lot. So I'll let you close this out.
It's easy, and it lets us out. Yeah, well, thank you all for coming in and for listening to this point. Please like and subscribe, and go over to Stanley's channel and like and subscribe over there. And we'll see you again. And of course, be with you.